The war between Israel and Hamas just continues to intensify. Now, Israel is pressing on with its offensive in the north and also in the southern part of the Gaza Strip. And according to reports that have come in, an estimated 18,700 Palestinians have so far been killed in this campaign of relentless bombing of the Gaza Strip by the Israelis. And an estimated 50,000 Palestinians have been grievously wounded or have been maimed in this conflict so far. Now, Israel, remember, has approved some temporary aid into the Gaza Strip via its Kerem Shalom border. And here's a sum up of all that is happening. The Friday marks day 2 of the U.S. National Security Advisor's visit to Israel. Jake Sullivan met with Netanyahu and also with Yoav Gallant, echoing the United States' concern about the future of Gaza. Now, Jake Sullivan has said that it is pretty inappropriate for Israel to occupy Gaza in the long term. This after Israel reaffirmed on Thursday that Gaza war could, of course, drag on for several months to come. Now, remember, the violence is not confined just to the Gaza Strip. Even in the West Bank, part of the Palestinian occupied territories, there have been repeated Israeli incursions deep into the Palestinian territories. And what has happened in the last 24 hours is that at least about 11 Palestinians have been killed, including a 13-year-old boy who reportedly died in the aftermath of this raid. The Israeli forces began their raid in Jenin early on Tuesday. The Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has held talks with the top U.S. officials in West Bank headquarters, emphasizing that Gaza is an integral part of the Palestinian state. He has also added that it is crucial to spare the civilians from the Israeli war machine. Now, Israel continues to pound Gaza with artillery and airstrikes, and smoke could be seen bellowing over the skyline in Gaza as Israeli helicopters and troops continued with their ground assault. The offensive is currently encircling Khan Younis in southern Gaza. On Friday afternoon, a rare air raid warning went off in Jerusalem, with the Iron Dome intercepting some crude missiles that reportedly were fired. Now, Hamas rarely managed to shoot their crude missiles as far as Jerusalem, with most of the missiles targeting towns in southern Israel. And these images were reportedly released by Islamic Jihad in what it claims are Palestinian fighters firing mortar shells towards Israel. Now, Islamic Jihad is the second largest militant group in the Gaza Strip. The situation remains tense in Israel's northern border as well. For the first time since the war began, the Israeli army has dropped leaflets in southern Lebanon. The leaflets carried a warning for the residents to not help Hezbollah. Now, remember, the Hezbollah and Israeli army have been engaged in some skirmishes ever since this conflict began on the 7th of October. And Israel has also dropped similar leaflets during the 2006 war that it fought in Lebanon for a period of 34 days. Now, the Western nations and the European Union released a joint statement on Friday urging Israel to take to stop the unprecedented violence by the Israeli illegal settlers in the West Bank. The signatories included the likes of Australia, Britain, Canada, France, the European Union, along with several other European nations. The statement read that Israel must protect Palestinian civilians in the West Bank. Now, remember, over 280 Palestinian innocent civilians have been killed ever since this bout of violence began on the 7th of October. Moreover, the United Nations has warned that Gaza is teetering on the edge of a possible implosion. Over 1.8 million people have been displaced out of a population of 2.3 million. Hospitals in north have largely stopped functioning altogether, while in the south, they are overwhelmed with patients. And Israel says that it has been encouraging aid into the Gaza Strip, but the United Nations says that aid delivery has been hampered due to continuous air bombings by Israel. And whatever aid is being sent till the Rafah border crossing is not being allowed to enter because of this campaign of bombings even at the Rafah region. And I earlier spoke with Professor Scott Lucas, who is a professor of international politics at the Clinton Institute in the University College at Dublin. And this is what he had to say in terms of what is unfolding in the Gaza Strip at this moment.
you summarized it in that while the Americans have changed their rhetoric, talk is cheap in the context of actions. Actions which, after Hamas's killing of more than 1,200 people, most of them Israeli civilians and foreign nationals, has wound up killing now almost 19,000 people in Gaza since October 7th, the large majority of them civilians. If the United States was serious about curbing the Israeli air and ground attacks, they could have done one of two things, which you mentioned. They could have, earlier this week, cast their veto in the UN Security Council, or sorry, they could have refrained from casting their veto in the UN Security Council earlier this week on a resolution calling for a ceasefire, therefore giving the diplomatic signal that this offensive should be halted. Or secondly, they could cut or restrict their military assistance to Israel.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.